My name is James Birch. I'm the policy director for the Anti-Police Terror Project. This is Audrey Inez, our action coordinator. I think Audrey might want to do a chant. Audrey, would you like to do a chant? Okay, come on over here. I can help you. I can hold your sign. Or you do a chant. Fight, fight, fight. Housing is a human right. 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 Woo! Hey. All right, let's give it up for Audrey, everybody. We like to get started early at the Anti-Police Terror Project. So again, as was said, my name is James Birch, and I've been fighting against care courts since we first heard about the bill in March, and you know, since then have learned, as we all have, that Governor Newsom has made it clear to legislators across the state that if you don't pass care courts, it's your legislative career. Your bills won't get passed. Your budget items won't get financed. Like Gavin Newsom has basically guaranteed that a vendetta will be out against any legislator who goes against care courts. And unfortunately, all the legislators have capitulated. All of the legislators have capitulated, the entire Capitol. Any legislator, any state legislator who claims that they support the rights of the unhoused, with the exception of one person, Ash Kalra, who voted against this bill. Everybody else is full you know what. To be honest, everyone else is full you know what, because they all had a chance to stand up against care courts, and they've all refused very clearly. And so what I'd like to do for you all today is talk a little bit about what care courts is, how it works, and what we can expect over the next 12 months as care courts is most likely implemented. Right? Because at the Anti-Police Terror Project, we think that public education is one of the best forms of community self-defense. I'm going to say that again. Public education is one of the best forms of community self-defense. And so, knowing that it's unlikely that we can stop this bill from passing, we're trying to make sure that everybody knows about it, knows how messed up it is, and see if we can mobilize some popular energy against this so we can resist implementation locally. Again, the goal now is to resist implementation locally. So I'm going to spend the next 5 minutes or so telling you all about the bill, how we got here, and what it's about. And then I'm going to open up an opportunity for any questions. And I'd like you all to know that this isn't the only time we'll be doing this. We've talked to the Public Defender's Office in San Francisco. We've talked to some legal aid offices in the East Bay. So we'll be doing a series of these informational talks and trainings to make sure everybody knows what's up with care courts and how foul the acts of London Breed, Libby Schaaf, Mayor Gavin Newsom, or Governor Gavin Newsom, and the rest of the supporters throughout the state are. Thank y'all, thank y'all. But really give it up for yourselves for being here today. Can we give it up for ourselves real quick? Y'all choose to come out here today. That's right. Okay, so, sorry, one moment. So what is care court? Care court is a new statewide plan by Governor Newsom that was announced in March. After it was announced, two state senators, Senators Eggman and Umberg, authored a piece of legislation, SB 1338, that would create a system of courts throughout the state. Care court is a system of involuntary treatment. Let us be clear. Care court begins with an involuntary referral to a court by a family member, police officer, or government official. Any of those people have the power to refer an individual to care court, and then it's up to the court to decide whether or not a person can care for themselves. The way the system works is by using a carrot or stick model. And by that I mean, once you are referred to care court, the judge and the care court team will try to convince you that whatever plan they are offering should be accepted, right? But ultimately, if you refuse and decide you feel like you're better off on your own, the court is authorized to escalate and use the court's power as a pathway to conservatorship, to forced medication, and ultimately what is a deprivation of the rights of an individual to determine their shelter and their way of life. Okay, so how are they doing this? Right? Under existing law, a person who is defined as gravely disabled or a danger to themselves or other may be conserved, right? Where the individual loses their autonomy, dignity, and liberty, right? Care court creates a pathway to conservatorship, a new pathway to conservatorship, right? If a person is referred to care courts and then they violate their care plan, right, then there is a presumption that that escalation is needed, that a more intense plan is needed, right? And if that doesn't work, ultimately we walk all the way to conservatorship, right? Okay, so who is eligible for care court? To be eligible, a person must be diagnosed with a severe mental illness or schizophrenia spectrum or other psychotic disorders, right? These categories are extremely broad, right? The use of the term schizophrenic spectrum implies that it could apply to a broad range of behaviors, right? There's extensive evidence showing that mental health professionals overdiagnose and misdiagnose Black and brown and other folks with these disorders at vastly higher rates than they do with white people, right? So Black, brown, and other marginalized populations are much more susceptible to be misdiagnosed and thus be vulnerable to be forced into these care courts, right? Who can refer people to care court? The list is frightening, right? Family members, hospital directors, charities or agencies that have provided services, residential or behavioral health services, let me be clear, behavioral health care professionals, first responders, including law enforcement officers, public guardians, judges, and prosecutors all have authority under the law to refer people into care court, right? And the way we look at an APTP is strangers. Strangers have the authority to refer you to care court. People who you don't know at all, who know nothing about you and might have just seen you on the street, have the authority to refer you to a court that can take away your liberty, which is one of the most frightening things about the law from our perspective. What happens inside of care court? There are a lot of open questions from us when it comes to the care court process, right? First, we're concerned that a lot of the rights afforded under the law are not mentioned in the care court legislation, right? No mention of presumption of innocence, no mention of a right to remain silent, a power to subpoena witnesses. There's no mention of a right to an independent evaluation or a process for the court to order or pay for any such evaluation, right? There are also concerning provisions like 5977B, which states that people who are assigned to care court and don't go to court, the judge is allowed to hold hearings without them, right, in their absence, right? And is our interpretation of the law, and again, we've got no clarity on that moving forward. Okay, what is funded under this plan? The courts are funded under this plan and nothing else, right? $65 million goes to pay for the judges, the attorneys, the bailiffs, the facilities that will be rented. How much is for housing? $0. $0. Right? How much is for voluntary treatment programming? $0. How much is for community-based services and supports? Nothing. Nothing. Not a dollar. Right? So counties and cities who are already getting an F- when it comes to serving populations are now asked to do more under the pressure of the courts. It's completely incoherent, right? Again, we're dealing with a system that's failing by design right now. We all know that the services aren't here and they're not coming. Right, so they're pretending they're giving us... I think I got 2 minutes. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Test.
Hold up, we having technical difficulties out here in San Francisco. Yeah.
Hey! All right, all right. Okay, again, so what is being funded under this plan? Nothing! Just the court system. $65 million for just the courts. And we all know that that number is going to skyrocket. That number is going to skyrocket. They lowballed that number to make sure that they could get this across the desk. 5 years from now, hundreds of millions of dollars will be funneled into these programs, right? Programs that we know that actually might work will have their funding drained so they can fund these courts, so they can make sure that their new Newsom plan is seen to be beneficial in some way, right? And what's really going to happen? It's going to be just like, what was it called? Care Not Cash.
Care Not
It's
Cash.
going to be just like Care Not Cash. Newsom's going to forget all about it. He's going to be on to his next political dream, and we are going to be left cleaning up his mess. We are going to be left cobbling together services with even fewer dollars, right? Because all of these politicians will have gallivanted on to their next pet project. Okay. When does Care Court come into effect? If Care Court is signed into a law, it'll go into effect October of 2023. Right? October of 2023. What does that mean? It means we have time. It means we have time. Right? Even if a law is passed at the state level, it has to be implemented at the local level. Right? So one of the reasons we're having these conversations in these spaces is to make sure that we put pressure, right, on London Breed, who's one of the biggest supporters of Care Courts. Right? How has London Breed done in serving the unhoused population of San Francisco? Let me hear y'all. Right? And she's pretending that she has the solution. It's asinine. It's asinine. It's disrespectful. Right? And so I hope that we all can, first and foremost, make sure that everybody knows about this threat that is coming. Right? So we can prepare against it. And then second, I hope we can all work together to resist implementation locally and tell our politicians that this shit doesn't work. This doesn't work and we don't want it. And if they're going to spend our money on it, then we're going to hold them accountable. Right on. I'm James Burtz. I'm the Deputy Director for the Anti-Police Terror Project. Thank you for your time. I'll answer any questions that folks have.